Greatness. Greatness. Bow, bow, bow. Greatness.
Yo, welcome to the Renewing the Mind podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Sanchez. Joined with me is my dad, Dr. Raul Sanchez. How you doing, Dad?
I'm feeling amazing, baby. This is my junior season on this podcast. It reminds me back in the day, NDSU, we had a saying, those who stay will play. Those who play will be champions. Once a champion, always a champion, baby. There she be right there. Let's go. 2 times, baby. Check it out. You see that?
There's
Y'all see
the
my
ring
studio?
kiss.
How's it feeling?
Hey,
How's it feeling?
On this podcast, we teach you how to renew your perspective, move towards uncertainty, and find what's awesome about that in every situation. Don't you ever forget it. There's 2 times to be great: when you feel like it and when you don't.
Amen. Amen.
Last week, we were
awesome.
planning on doing Are You a Planter? You cannot reap where you have not sown. And then Dad got sick last minute, so we had to cancel. Came down with a little stomach bug or something last second. So
yeah, it was not good. Not good.
But we're back. We're back and ready. Hey, if you're listening to this podcast, wherever you consume podcasts, on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever that is, if you could leave us a review, that will help us climb those charts and get more engagement and more followers, more people listening to the podcast. If you're watching on Facebook, can you give us a thumbs up? Hit that share button. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so you can get notified anytime we put out content. And we're going to take no time and jump right into it moving forward. We're going to try to get our shows down to 35 minutes or so. That way, just a little bit more consumable and kind of allow you to not have to take out an hour of your time to consume it. And so that's statistically the minute level or point that we're trying to get to for best engagement and able to be consumed rather quickly, rather than, hour and 15 sometimes. So, but with that being said, man, can we give a round of applause to Dad's camera and setup?
Let's go. Yeah. And my iPad, I actually have like a magic pen.
What? What's
Let's
awesome
go,
about this is it only took us 3.5 years to get this man looking like he actually has a studio and an office. I used to have the dope setup, and now I feel like mine's is kind of buns compared to yours. I'm gonna have to change my little. I thought I was looking right until look at that. Man.
Yeah, get that game on. I mean, look at that 2 times back there. I got the touchdown bison.
The Buffalo. We got to get the American flag down a little bit so we can kind of see it, and it looks like just a couple stripes right now.
True. Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Southpaw Designs from Sioux City. That's a wooden flag. We'll get that better for you next time. So, and
I'm
praise
stepping
God,
my game
we
up.
have actually Wi-Fi up here. So last time, remember, it broke down. We had to run to the basement. So just praise God that we can actually get this thing off the ground. So
hey, yo, I still got my paint shirt on. Hold on. Talk. I'll be right back.
Okay, for real. All right, here we go. We're talking about planting. Okay?
Jump in.
Are you? I'll jump in. I got you. Tyler's got his bib on. We're good. Hey, we're live. We are fresh. We're real. We're genuine. That's how we do. So, all right. Are you a planter? Here's the idea. If you think about that, like I'm not talking about seeding and like, do you have seeds that you throw and cast out? Like are you a planter? So, some people are like, I'm a pot, I'm a planter. There's a difference. A pot is somebody who can just hold down one plant, and a planter is somebody who has room for multiple plants. So people often ask me this, like, well, can you be both? And the answer is, yeah, you can still put your plant inside the planter. So I'm working on me. And then I can have other people, like, let's say I'm coaching Tyler, I'm coaching Terrence, or, I'm coaching Valencia. I got coaching clients. So the planter idea is, can you hold multiple plants? And can you weather a plant during the seasons? So are you a planter? And a lot of times, especially on social media, everybody wants it now. Everybody wants to be the guru, the master, everyone talking about, hey, I can scale you. I can scale this. I can do this. There's all kinds of gurus out there. And for me personally, I look at experience. So anytime somebody has 10 years in the game anywhere, 10 years of teaching, 10 years of marriage, 10 years, anything, you've leveled up. Like you're a master level, you can teach some things. Now, technically, if you're one step ahead of anybody, you can coach them. But sometimes the fast learner will catch you. So people get kind of stuck on that. But for our purposes, are you a pot or a planter? And the question for me is, I want you to push you to become a planter. And a quick example is, the Rams won the Super Bowl this year, and a lot of people were celebrated. A lot of people were crying. You see adult men crying. I like it because we can turn back and show little boys, like, look, it's okay to have feelings as a man. God gave you tear ducts. It's okay to cry. It's okay to let it out. Sometimes that's tears of joy. Sometimes it's tears of pain. Sometimes it's tears of just shock and awe, like a disbelief we made it. But in this case, we have a video, and we'll post it later. We just couldn't get it posted here with StreamYard. But his name's Andrew Whitworth, and he is a retired, like 20-year vet or 17-year vet, something like that, in the NFL. And there's a video of him on Sports Center today. He's on the ground in the grass right after the game. He's crying with his kids kind of around him. He's got a lot of kids. And think about this. He could be having champagne in the locker room. He could be having a stogie. He could do all kinds of things. And everybody would say, bro, you earned that right. But he's on the ground with his kids. And when you watch the video, he starts to cry. And he basically says this. He says, I'm going to be a better dad. And then he says, I'm going to be around more. And then he says, I'm going to coach the crap out of football with you boys. And he starts to lose it a little bit with some tears. And then he says, man, we're going to do so many big epic things. And then he tries to laugh to kind of keep himself from falling apart. Now, this is a grown man who is an expert pot, right? He has spent all his life chasing the biggest dream of his life, which is to be an NFL star, and he made it. And not only did he make it, he freaking climbed to the top of the summit, and he's at the pinnacle, and he's got the Super Bowl ring. Hey, once a champion, always a champion. Like, that ain't leaving him, right? He's got that for life. But now, out of all the things in the world this guy can do, his next climb, he says, you, and you are coming into my pot. We're going to expand. I'm going to become a planter, and I'm going to make you great. How do we say it around here? There's two times to be great: when you feel like it and when you don't. And his kids now have this Super Bowl champion coming back home to plant them together so they can grow. You following me? I want you to think about that. Now, my question for you is this. As a parent, are you still stuck in your own pot, or are you actually a planter? And people, again, hey, you can be both. And here's how you can be both. I'm a planter for me. I've got multiple streams of income developing. I have multiple coaching positions or, revenue streams. And so I'm a speaker, a coach, a psychologist, podcaster, an author, all these kind of pieces. And so, so I've got multiple areas, but technically I'm still a pot, right? All those are still me. So now if I make room in that pot and I become a planter, then I can help Tyler grow. I can help Nate grow. And the concept, if I'm a planter, then people around me start to grow. And that's a quick test. You might say, dude, I'm a planter because I got everybody around me. But the question is everybody around you growing? Is everybody around you scaling? Is everybody around you leveling up their game? And are they becoming attractive to everybody else around them? And if you take a look at just our podcast team, like, people are taking off, right? And that concept is because we don't just sit still. Like, sometimes people say, oh, you're such a striver, you're such a this, you're such a that. Like, why can't you just rest and peace? And the Bible says, be still. And I am God, just be still. I get it. But at the same time, Jesus is pushing people to, like, hey, get up, pick up your cross, sell everything, and go follow me. So, like, there's seasons. And this is what I'm trying to help you understand. It's okay to be both. The next thing is for you is, like, if you're single, you don't have kids, you're like, okay, all you're doing is talk about kids and marriage and stuff. I get it. But as a single person, what if you teach? Do you, like, circle up and grab kids sometimes? Do you bring an extra coat? Do you bring a bag of clothes for a kid that you know is hurting at school? Like, you're a planter then, right? If you're the person who just keeps your head to yourself and just cruises and comes home, not only is that lonely, but that is, like, there's a 68% chance where those kids are going to be depressed and lonely. The kids who wake up, go to school, come home, wake up, go to school, come home, they're lost. They're not climbing. They're not planted. They're not being mentored. They're done. And so as a single parent or as a single person, that can happen to you also. So my push to you is, let's step out, push out of that pot, stop being just alone in your own stuff, and push out into a group, push out into, it doesn't matter to me. You could join my mom and do some like aqua, aerobics. You could join Tavian and play some pickleball that we played, a couple weeks ago. That was pretty dope. Like, it doesn't matter to me, but we got to get up and get moving. This is 2022. We're just getting launched. I need you to be a planter. Okay. Seasons. So the seasons are pretty simple. I'm just going to talk about the seasons real quick, and then I'll back up, and then we're going to walk through it. So the seasons of a planter, this is just through me, is thinking through how I coach people. The first one is soil prep / testing. Okay. Soil prep / testing. The second one is seeding / investing. Seeding / investing. The third one is weeding, or what I call boundaries. Weeding and boundaries. And the last one is harvesting / better known as cash money. Cash money. ATM machine. Okay, so let's back up. Soil prep. What does that look like? This is where you're testing stuff. So let's say you're just, again, we're talking about a child first. So like with Valencia, so I put her on a bike. We put on rollerblades. We ride on scooters. We tried basketball. We tried volleyball. We tried all the sports, right? And then she like does a season or two and says, "Oh, opt out." Then we tried gymnastics. We did that for a couple of years, and then we did gymnastics, sports teams, travel team, elite stuff, and then dance. And then she moved up to the travel team. So now we're just doing dance. So we kind of shut everything down and we just do dance now. So we test all the soil and then we figure out which seed sticks. Okay. That's our testing stuff. So like, how much effort is worth my push to get the reward at the end? And for her, soccer even fell down, volleyball fell down, even though she still talks about volleyball being fun sometimes. And by the way, archery fell down. We'll talk about that in a minute. Season two, seeding / investing. So once we decide, okay, you're going all in on gymnastics, right? So now I can pay for extra coaches because I can invest in seeds in gymnastics. I can invest in seeds. She gets a separate coach to help clean up her dance routines. Cause even though I'm the dance dad from an observational standpoint, like I can just do the moonwalk and the worm. Like, come on. So like a 2-trick pony. It's like, huh? Show me some money. Show me some money. Hey, at the Lucky Lady, your boy used to win some dance competitions. I'm just saying. Okay.
I don't believe that.
Yeah. You're like, what? Well,
I saw you trying to do the gritty across the living room the other night. You look like you had 2 left feet.
Bro, that thing had my dyslexia all like, I was talking about my
dude, your arms are moving
Dad,
wrong.
tap your heel. Dad, tap your heel. And I tap my toe. Dad, tap your heel. I tap my other toe. I'm like, okay, whoa.
That was tough.
Heel.
That was tough.
Yeah, I could say it, but I couldn't do it. Yeah, I got you. All right. Season 3. So we're talking about weeding. So you're pulling out the weeds, and then boundaries. And this is really important. So you work really, really hard to protect your seeds. You just put a bunch of seeds in this investment. You work really, really, really hard. This is where I see a lot of adults fail. So you hire a coach. You start going to speaking classes. You do all this stuff. You engage in your first speaking, engagement. Like, I am going to go do this. And then all of a sudden you're like, I can't. It's not for me. And you just cash out everything. You just spent all these seeds, all these investments, and you didn't weed it. So, and the weeds are people who come up to you like, what? You spent how much money on this coach? Like, how do you even trust him? Okay. Or somebody looks at you and says, what? You bought your wife an exercise equipment for home? Like, bro, did you even check with her? That's dumb, dude. I tried to buy my wife this one thing once. Now it's just got laundry on it. Like, I don't have to waste energy on that because I know our backstory. My wife brought that concept to me. So I don't have to waste energy on that argument. I just say, okay, then here's what I want you to understand. If that's somebody else or me, I got to protect my investment because those are people trying to weed out me from being successful. Now, this is the craziest thing in the world. Why do people want to stop you from being successful? Why? The answer is twofold. One, they literally have a concern for you. Like, bro, I know you're tight on cash and you're always wasting cash on these coaches. I'm just asking some questions. Okay. So their intent could actually be legit, but the way it comes out to you is super fear-based. Number 2, they're straight haters and they don't want you to succeed because then that makes them look bad. And sometimes people don't even understand that says this. Like, if you walk by somebody doing something, and they'll say, bro, stop, you make me look bad. That just shows you the hate and I don't want to say that like they hate you, they want you to fail. They're haters in the sense that they want to throw weeds on your side of the grass, and so you have to fight them, not them. But I want you to do the work, because the boundaries, and as a dad, as a husband, like one of my toughest skills is I got strict boundaries, and I police the boundaries like really, really hard. Like I'm like an expert bouncer. Like if there's an expert in bouncing, I can bounce, bro. Just saying. Last one, harvesting. This is the fun one. Harvesting is where we all look at anybody, like a football player, like, look at, any star, Tom Brady, for example, and you just like, dude, this is just unreal. Like, how can he do this stuff? Right. Look at any of these immaculate catches, any great runs, any great blocks, a sack, anything like that, where, a guy busts through. Like, I'm just talking football, but you can think about anybody, any influencer, any coach, and you're like, that's just so unreal. How do you make that much money? How can that guy do that? How can you speak for 6 hours? Like, all these ideas. And the idea is, when we look at somebody in the harvest season, it looks so easy. It looks so fluid. They make it look like cake work, and that makes the rest of us jealous. What we didn't see, though, is that they were climbing in the dark for those first 3 seasons. Nobody knew.
Right. Or
Nobody
where
knew
they
that they did all
planted.
that work in it. Where actually, and that first one is the testing. Like, nobody knew how many cameras it went through. Nobody knew how many failed setups. Like, just think about our podcast, how many, old equipment sitting downstairs just because like it wasn't for us, right? So nobody sees those pieces. They see the harvest part, and they feel guilty for themselves, or they feel like you're just trying to brag, and they're just like, oh, stop bragging. But that's the fun season. Like, everything just touch goes to gold, and a lot of great stuff starts to happen for you. Okay, so those are the seasons. I want to run through one example really quickly, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. And then we're also going to open up to like some cool modules that we're going to introduce to you guys today. So the first one I'll just share with you is archery. So I sent some pictures of Tyler. Hopefully those can pop up. So Valencia started.
They can't. StreamYard has blocked me from sharing.
Okay.
So
there's a couple pictures that we can put up there. But Valencia started shooting her bow at 3 years old. Same with the boys. And at age 6, Valencia could shoot archery by herself. So me, Stacy, and her would drive up to Yankton. That's like one of the Olympic centers where they train. So it's a really great center. It's only like, an hour from us. And we got pictures and videos of her shooting her bow, and I'm filming her and Stacy just correcting form. So 3 years in, Valencia can already load her own arrow, shoot her own bow, balance her own feet, and stuff like that. And there's a real cool thing. There's a video on Instagram that I'll maybe pull up, or we can post too, where you can see her mentally walk through these phases, because this year at 12, she actually shot at state. Now, here's what's happened. Like, she was all gung ho. She started dancing in gymnastics. Hey, honey, you want to shoot your bow? No, Dad. Hey, honey, you want to shoot your bow? No, Dad. Hey, honey, I'm going to go target shoot. You want to shoot? No. Hey, Dad, hey, honey, I'm going to go to the back of the church, shoot 3D archery, which there's bullseye, which are like, it looks like the bullseye target. And then there's 3D targets, which looks like, stuffed animals that you can shoot. And she really, every time I pull out the animal, she's all on it. But now she's been like, no, Dad, I'm busy. Archery comes around for Sergeant Bluff, 6th graders, her first year. She's like, I don't know, Dad. So a little bit of practices. I talked to the coach, so 6th graders start a little bit late, just so we can get the other team running. And she almost didn't go, but one of her best friends, the female, said, hey, you should come. I'm doing archery. So she did. And then there's a couple optional practices. And I said, hey, honey, we should do optional practice. We can get you fired up because state's coming up. And she's like, no, I'm okay, Dad. And so I wasn't going to push it, because all my investing, all that pushing, I'm just on boundaries now. So I'm just like protecting her. So she doesn't want to go. I can't do anything. But here's what happened. We did a competition one day, and something happened, and she started competing with some of the boys who could shoot better. And she went after him, and she beat him in that one day. That one day she comes home and she says, Dad, I want to go to optional practice. We go to optional practice. She's like, Dad, I want to go to Friday practice. We go to Friday practice. She has a tournament. She qualifies for state. And then we just looked at her. Archery is like really, really chill, really calm. And if you put pressure on them, they choke. Okay. So archery, you're supposed to be really, really, really relaxed. So I just said to her, hey, so you can go at state. Her score was a 248 heading there. And I said, if you go and shoot a 249, it's a success. She's like, Dad, I can do more than that. And I said, okay, how many? So she goes, what was my score? So we pull out her scorecard. She glanced down the thing, and anything that was below a 7, she started saying, hey, I can get 3 points there, from a 6 to a 9. She wasn't even giving herself 10. She was just saying 9s. And so she actually found that she could actually score 15 points more. So she's like, I think my score is going to be a 260, Dad. So her goal was a 260, which would have been 15 points ahead of her PR. And actually on the day of archery at state in Des Moines, after we got hailed on, we just had tornadoes in Des Moines. She shot a 265. So she PR'd by 17 points. Now, if people look at that, and you could have a couple of different views. You could say, well, of course, because she's a Sanchez and they shoot bows all the time. Well, that's not necessarily true, because she might not have wanted even to shoot. This could have been her first season and have no soil planted, no seeds planted, no investing, no boundaries, no weeding, right? So she steps up in 1 year of practice, and she ranked, I think the score was 9th out of like 86 or 88 sixth graders across the state. So she's top 10 archer in the state of Iowa, and it looks easy for her. But people don't understand she's been shooting since age 3. See what I'm saying? So those first 3 stages are in the dark, like you're by yourself. Those are called a solo climb. No one knows you're working. Everybody sees the end, and they're either for you, they celebrate you, or they're against you, and they're like, whatever, it's easier for you. Does that make sense? So that's the idea of, are you a planter? Now, if you can do that yourself with a blink of an eye, you can be a coach, right? If you are a coach and you coach everybody around you, then do you even know how to self-care? Because what if you're a planter and you do this for everybody else, but you don't do it for you? Okay. So our goal right now is to just do quick teaching this year, and then leave the last 10 minutes or so for Q&A. And let's make this a lot of application steps for you and whatever season you're in, wherever you're at. So let's just throw out some questions. Let's do some Q&A, and let's get you excited about your climb, and whether you're in a pot or you want to move to the planter, or if you're a planter, like, how do I do self-care? Because I care for all these kids.
Yeah, I would say, while we're waiting for, if there's any one of you got comments or questions, like you just said, throw them into the chat, and I'll pop them up, and we'll kind of go at them as they come through. And if you're watching this not live, please also hop into the comments on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll go back through the comments and answer them via posting. So my question is, and through all of that, that's fine, and that sounds cool now for Valencia, but to do that for 5 or 6 years without reaping the harvest, that's difficult for a lot of people to do. And for a lot of those years, that was kind of motivated by you pushing her, and kind of motivated by daddy-daughter time, and not necessarily her motivation to, one day see herself winning state, or even going to state, or even just any other situation. Take Valencia, that scenario out of it. It's hard to plant for months, years without reaping, and without achieving that harvest. That's difficult to do. And most of us, after planting for a month or two and not being able to reap a harvest, we kind of most likely stop.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea, especially if you're not weed eating very well, if you're not pushing people out, if you're not balancing and watching those boundaries, the wrong person can set in. And the reason, we kind of talked about it, like, as we were prepping for state, but the reason so many kids didn't come out, because once the kids started getting these state jerseys, and people realized you can go to state, there's all these other kids that started saying, hey, what about archery? Hey, but in the beginning, Valencia almost didn't go out, because some of her friends would say, archery's not even a sport. Archery's not even real athletes. Like, why do you have that in the school? That should be outlawed. Like, you should get that out of here. Like, stuff like that. Like, that's a PE class. Like, that's not a sport. And so you have to really protect mindsets around there. Now, perhaps Valencia joined into archery really young because her brothers did it. Maybe because dad did it, right? But there were times when she literally would come home and be like, Dad, let's go shoot our bows. So it was driven by her too. But I know enough to know, if I asked her once and she wasn't in it, then it's okay. But see, once it lit into her and she had all those seeds planted, some days when I could pull in, the target's out in the garage and she's shooting in the garage. And she said, Dad, I shot 30 arrows today, or whatever.
But that's something that's fun. Let's go something that's not fun, right? So maybe she just does archery just because she loves it, not because she wants to reap a harvest of state. So take archery out of it. How do you sow into areas that are not fun to reap things that are fun?
So the two options are this, like right now, I know this is good for me. So like sleep. It's hard for young people to sleep because they just,
but that feels so good.
It's more fun to bed. Yeah, I know. But listen, as dumb as it sounds now, as a grown adult,
let's go working out.
Man, how could you skip sleep, right? Okay, so I'm just saying, I know it's weird. People refuse to sleep, right? So that's one of them. You have to know, like, there has to be an immediate reward. Okay, working out. If you don't understand the idea,
there's no immediate reward.
The idea of scaling, The immediate reward is you start to look good. You start to feel good. You can't tell me a person who works out in the morning doesn't just look like they have something different happening to their face.
I do
People will
feel
ask you in a
different.
couple of days, like, what are you doing? What are you doing today? Why are you so energetic? Or why are you so pumped? Or bro, how many coffees did you have? There's a way that people notice you. Now,
Yeah.
if you just put together the scaling idea, like let's say you grow 0.02%. Over time, that 0.02 is growing. You have to know that you're still growing. I've just done enough stuff in my life from 0 to something that I know, like, okay, it's going to be a climb. And I just know that it's going to look ugly. It's going to not be pretty. It's going to be frustrating. You know, I'm going to want to quit. I'm going to want to hit snooze, but I'm just going to get back up and do it again. Right. And that's the concept. Now, for me, I have to make things novel. So like this machine we got, that's cool. Before that, like this last year, I've been doing a lot of kettlebells. I've never done kettlebells in my life, but 2021, I was like, I'm going to focus on kettlebell workouts. Why? Just because it was different. Like workouts get boring, right? So how do you make it fun if there's no immediate reward? Well, you have to make it novel. You have to get new headsets. You know, you have to get a buddy to check in with you. But here's the real thing. Here's what happens to a lot of people. And this is which one? The buddy?
The buddy thing. One of them's in the chat right now.
Okay, so if you tried the buddy thing, I would say this: get a new buddy.
I know. Here, I don't think Esther went for this, but look, new friends. Yes, I need new friends.
Exactly. Esther's on point. There we go. Yeah, cash out, right? If you hire,
the other thing,
but listen, like if you hire a coach, go.
Oh, I was just gonna say the other thing we always talk about is keeping the end in mind, and I understand it's like theory and like the right words. I understand it. I do feel I told Alicia I made it to the gym a couple weeks ago, a couple mornings, and it felt great. And I was like, why don't I do that every morning? But then night comes, and it's just, anyways. So I know keep the end in mind. It's just difficult. We all probably know the answers, but it's just difficult to plant over and over and over and over, and that gets monotonous and boring and tiring on those plant and reaping that take, or sowing and reaping that take an extended amount of time. You know, like farmers plant in the spring, don't harvest until the fall. That's a long time to do the right thing.
Right. But they know, and they know that harvest is coming.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
It's great. I do.
They know there's a moment where
it's going to click. This quickly felt like it's turning into an intervention. So let's put a comment on the screen.
Well, I was just going to say something. Look,
mom
has mastered the idea. We got some comments. Mom has mastered the idea of like low and slow. Like mom is like a crock pot when it comes to workout, right? She'll do a 20-minute workout. She'll burn X amount of calories. She gets sweaty. She does her protein shake. She has a routine. She showers, and she's maintained that for a long time. Okay. I'm more of the guy where I go, you know, I'll do a 60-day challenge or a 90-day challenge, and I go kind of really hard, and I'll take 10 days off, and then I'll pick up another challenge. You're literally a split 50% mom, 50% me. And you try to go both of those. You're not going to do mom low and slow because that frustrates you too much. Mm-hmm. And you're not fully me. So you can't do a full challenge without hurting yourself or pulling a calf or something. So here's mom, here's dad. You got to do a 50%. Your real line's got to be in here. So instead of like a 60-day challenge, maybe a 20-day challenge, right? And instead of like going to CrossFit,
maybe a 2-day,
and trying to hit the leaderboard, and instead of trying to hit the leadboard on day one, how about you just go and have an easy workout?
I hit the leaderboard one day out of my 4 months at CrossFit. I was on the leaderboard one day. It was the assault bike challenge.
Okay.
I can't do it today, but anyways, back up questions. I couldn't. Crystal. How do you start setting boundaries in boundaryless environment? I know you could do a whole series on boundaries, but what would be your top 2 things to start implementing? And we got to move quickly if we're trying to hit that 30.
Okay. So what's boundaryless? Can you give me an idea? What would be boundaryless in your opinion? Because that could be pretty wide. So, for example, I would create.
I'll just say maybe in her family, in their family.
Yes. So, that's why I brought up family. That's probably the best one to look at. Let's just take family. So like in our family, I create boundaries because if I died I want my kids to have an idea of the living legacy. So like I want to push into my kids the concept of why I do things and how we do them. And so they can keep really, really tight on that family tradition. So there's no boundaries on Christmas morning, right? Stacy had a different Christmas than our Christmas. And I said to Stacy, I was like, I don't really like how I grew up, and I don't really like what you did either, but we can kind of have a little bit of a clash. And over time, I actually felt like Stacy's mom and dad did it maybe better than I thought. And so we've actually implemented more of Jerry and Fran's Christmas Day with some of my stuff in there too. And that's become our Christmas Day. So on Christmas Day, we police Christmas Day like it's a closed session. And people get mad about that. But for 33 years, 35 years, we've policed that morning routine for us. And so that's where it's boundaryless. I have to take an idea of like, what would I want it? What do I want this to look at? Sorry. What do I want Christmas morning to look like 20 years from now? So I have a vision. So I put that vision out there. And then I think, okay, in order to hit that 20 years from now, what should I be doing today? And so people can call that reverse engineering. You can call that vision casting. It takes a bunch of different looks, but you have to go after what you want. And let's say there's somebody in your boundaryless environment who doesn't want to listen to you. That's okay. Then you circle up with the people who want to, and your environment just got a little bit smaller if somebody steps out. Okay. Yeah. The second thing I would say is write down your boundaries. Write them down, because if you have it down on paper and somebody tries to come and plant weeds in your stuff, you can push that boundary back because you're like, no, that's not how I envisioned it. Okay. And the most important thing I can tell everybody here is, listen, your life is your own. Your life is your own. You have your own unique set of fingerprints. You are a gift from God, you yourself. So you have to chase your goals, your life, your boundaries. And if somebody says, hey, that's stupid, you'll say, okay, I appreciate your opinion, but this is my life and I get to set up these boundaries. Now, just because I hold tight to my boundaries and that pushes you away, that has nothing to do with you. I'm staying on my boundaries. If I have to work out in the morning and I can't go to your thing in the morning, I'm saying, sorry, I got to kill this workout. Now you can look at that as being selfish, but it depends on the day. If I just started, yeah, I can push the day over. But if like I'm trying to win this challenge, then I'm not going to miss. So stop feeling guilty for you doing you and setting up boundaries for you. Stop feeling guilty. Stop.
Yeah. The one thing me and Alicia always say is either you're going to offend someone by your boundaries or someone's going to take advantage of you without your boundaries. And so at some point, someone's going to be offended or someone's going to be hurt. And it's either you and your family and the things you hold dear to that are getting kind of crossed by other people, or you're going to have an awkward or kind of maybe difficult conversation with some people to set up the boundaries, but then you're protecting what matters most to you. And so we'd rather have those conversations to put up the boundaries than still have those conversations, but feel affected or taken advantage of or doormatish by not having boundaries. Another question says, where do you find people who are planters? Some of my friends are straight flower killers. This guy.
Hey, we got wafters. We got crop dusters in our family too. Straight flower killers.
Straight flower killers. That man's the key flower killer.
That's hilarious. Okay.
For those of you who don't know, Chase is one of my best friends.
Yeah, Chase is dope. Okay, so you've got to remember this. So that's go back to step one. You have to test the soil. How do you know if a guy is not a strong climber? How do you know if a guy is more air than he is like physical work? You got to test him. So you take him out, you go work out with him, you go talk to him, you sit down and have meetings with him. And if it doesn't work out, you'll say, hey, sorry, this is just going different directions. Hey, I had other thoughts. I got to pivot. Nothing personal. We're just on different stages. And that's that simple. We're in different seasons. That's simple. But once you find a guy, like I have a guy named Dirk, we've been meeting for several years. We do coffee. We're literally like brothers in arms, kind of that kind of guy. We call them climbing partners. We protect each other like that, like shield prayer, stuff like that. So you've got to keep trying, keep fighting, keep searching. And so look, this is what people always say. People, hey, did you mute Ty, or am I muted?
No, I was going to talk, but then you stopped, so then I quit.
Okay, I was just going to say this one thing. People always say like, hey, how do you find a guy like that? And the concept is, this is what great CEOs do. Slow to hire, quick to fire. So slow to kind of move into daily or weekly meetings, And then once you realize it's going sideways, and just say, hey, really quickly before anything goes wrong, I think we're just going different directions. Okay. Be okay with it.
Yeah, kind of like Chase. A piece of advice would be like, if you told a friend like, "Hey, I'm gonna start working out at 5 a.m. Let's text each other at 5 a.m." And then for like 2 weeks straight, you don't get a text from that person. That would be someone. Then you should just, move on and find someone else. Hypothetically
Okay.
speaking.
So hey, Ty, if you're hypothetically talking about, if you're talking about a hypothetical flower killer, I would point to wrong direction. I'd point to this thing right here and say 2 times, brother.
That's what mom said. This. Nothing feels better than this. That was a song I played. Anyways, last question we got, and then we'll I got a final thought, and we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Esther says, address reaping harvest you don't plant. And that's
okay. So that's biblical.
Yeah.
So here's the idea. So you cannot reap where you have not sown. So for example, physically speaking, I'm not going to be able to run a marathon unless I've planted that. Unless the Lord wakes up somebody and says, hey, you're going to run this marathon for charity, and you have no practice at all. Maybe that's happened. I've never seen it. Only the Lord could do it, because the Lord operates supernaturally. Like, he just blinks and things happens. He just speaks and there's light. So that can actually happen. I haven't personally seen it on that physical side. Spiritually, it's different. The Bible talks about rain falls on those who deserve it and those who don't. And so what that means is sometimes you're around people who are blessed. You're around people who are anointed. You're around people who are actually in a harvest season. And because of your influence, they're better. And what's that kid's name, Tyler? I can't think of his name. It's a long name like Nebuchadnezzar, but it's a boy who was crippled, and his dad, because of his dad, kings blessed him.
Oh yeah, Mephibosheth.
Mephibosheth. There you go. So that's what we're talking about, Esther. So because of his dad was such a big blessing and such an anointing, somebody came and helped Mephibosheth because he knew his dad. So Mephibosheth did not plant at all, but he was absolutely blessed based on his dad's planting. His dad's anointing fell onto him. So that's a great question, Esther. And yes, it can happen if you're around people who are anointed.
That's crazy you asked that. It's almost like I came prepared to answer that question. Matthew 13:23 says, the one whom seed was sown on the good soil, this is the man who hears the word and understands it, whom indeed bears fruit and brings forth some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30, meaning that God can multiply through his favor and his blessing the seeds you do plant. Though I don't think that you can, I wouldn't say there's never a time, but even in Mephibosheth's, his dad sowed seeds that Mephibosheth was able to harvest. There's still someone that sowed seeds. I don't think you can ever come up with a harvest without, some people's lives, it was their grandma praying for them, or their mom praying for them, or their dad, or a grandpa, but someone still had to have sown the seeds. Maybe it wasn't you directly. And in this, maybe you sowed the seed, but you're praying for 100-fold return, or 60-fold return, or 30, whatever that looks like. God's favor and blessing can be on the seeds that were sown, but it's still on us to plant those seeds.
Yeah. That's good. Great question, Esther.
I got 2 other thoughts. One is, where is it at? Yeah. So, the biblical principle of sowing and reaping, and we'll kind of close out with this, is do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked, which means don't get it twisted. Whatever you sow, good or bad, we'll kind of move to that next week, but good or bad, you'll reap. A man reaps what he sows, verse 8. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. And that's the New Testament example of where sowing and reaping happens. And that we're constantly having that determination or that question in our head. Do we sow into the fleshly desires in the ways of the world, or do we sow into our spiritual plan that God has for our life and reap those? I think that's the constant battle that we have every single day, is where are we sowing because you will reap regardless. And so that's the pretty much the daily question for every Christian is, where are you throwing seeds, and in what areas are you seeding that you will have to reap consequences or blessing and favor?
Yeah. Correct. That's good. Well, we can get out of here in 45 minutes.
All right, last one. Let us not become weary in well doing, for in the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. I think that's the hardest thing for me, is don't grow weary in doing the good sowing. The due time.
Yeah.
There's, it'd be different if someone said, okay, just do this for 30 days and you're guaranteed to get a harvest. Most things in life that we sow into, we don't know when the harvest will happen. That to me is really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. The last thing I would say is don't forget, the higher level you are, the faster those seasons happen for you. Don't forget that the higher you climb, the faster those seasons happen for you. So once
Sure.
I write a book, which I did, I can write a second book faster, a third book faster, a fourth book faster. Yep. Right. And that's what I want you to think about. If you've ran a marathon once, you can run it multiple times. If you've shed some weight or put on some muscle, you can do it again and again and again. And
right.
Everybody else is on the backside of that, which is, I'm stuck on level 1. So how can I ever get to level 6? And the idea is one step at a time. Gamification is like, I can't get to level 2, no cheat code until I pass level 1. Pass level 1, then get to level 2. Pass level 2, get to level 2, level 3. But don't grow weary while doing. That's a great one.
Sweet. Hey, right. We're gonna next week. In
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks on our next episode, we're going to do "Are You a Planter?" Part 2. And we're going to knock out maybe the negative side of planting. And then you got a couple more examples to go into that.
Yeah. And if you want to just put in the chat here, if you want specifics, because I want to try and apply this to multiple areas. Typically I'll hit one thing like archery or one thing like workouts. And I want to make sure this year we apply it to multiple areas, so we cover more of the audience. And so don't feel ashamed to ask questions, and then we'll dial in those examples for you. And then if you have a bunch of questions, send them to us and we'll prepare ahead of time.
Love it. If you're listening to the podcast, the audio files on anywhere or any place you consume podcasts, make sure you leave us a review. Facebook, give us that thumbs up and share. On YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell. And don't ever forget it. There's 2 times to be great: when you feel like it and when you don't.
And when you don't.
We love you.
Amen.
Peace out. See y'all later.
Peace.
I had to realize what's inside of me. For all of the people that lied to me. For all of the people that said I would fall off. Oh, boy, what a time to be alive. I wrote this for everyone, feel like they counted out. You need to look in the mirror and tell yourself it's time to be who I am now. Greatness.